All right, welcome to the boardroom. Let's dive right into this explainer by completely reframing how we look at the Cambridge Math 9709 exam. Seriously, I want you to completely stop seeing it as just another standard academic test. Instead, from this moment on, we're going to treat it as an elite, high-stakes executive pitch. Today, I'll be stepping into the role of your managing director, and we are going to master one of the absolute most critical portfolios in your entire syllabus. We're talking about quadratics, more specifically the mechanics of balancing simultaneous equations where you have exactly one linear equation and one quadratic equation. This isn't just about finding x and y, it's about structuring an airtight business case. Here is our executive agenda for today's session. We'll start by defining the client brief, move into the compliance standards, build out your method mark blueprint, conduct a live diagnostic audit, and finally, close out with the executive checklist. Okay, phase 1. The client brief, covering quadratics and simultaneous equations. Let's get into it.
So, to truly understand this brief, we have to really dig into the specific mechanics at play. Think about it like this. In the corporate world, a linear equation represents a steady, totally predictable cost, right? It's a straight line. Meanwhile, a quadratic represents a rapidly accelerating variable, kind of like compound revenue or exponential growth. Mathematically speaking, your job as a consultant is to find exactly where these two distinct forces intersect. You are pinpointing the exact coordinates where the straight line cuts across the curve. And here is the absolutely crucial takeaway. This exact brief shows up in literally every single exam series, every single one. Mastering this intersection is completely foundational to your future work in advanced calculus and coordinate geometry. You know for a fact it's going to be sitting on your desk come exam day, which makes mastering it a completely non-negotiable asset for your academic portfolio.
Moving on to phase 2, the compliance standards, otherwise known as the assessment objectives. Now we need to talk about structural strategy because your pitch has to perfectly align with the strict compliance standards the examiners are actively auditing. We're talking about 3 core cognitive domains, AO1, which is knowledge and understanding, AO2, which is application, and AO3, which is analysis. To make this super concrete, let's imagine 2 junior consultants on our team, Alex and Sam, and they are both pitching a solution to this exact math problem. Now, consultant Alex is an absolute data nerd. Alex has incredible data points mapping perfectly to AO1. Alex knows all the quadratic formulas by heart and knows exactly how to isolate a variable. But Alex's logical reasoning when putting it all together, it's totally disjointed. Then on the other hand, you have consultant Sam. Now, Sam is a highly persuasive speaker, incredibly strong at AO3 analysis and seeing the big picture, but honestly, Sam completely lacks the actual mathematical application required for AO2. The actual execution is flawed. The lesson here is that you cannot just be the consultant with good raw data, and you cannot just be the smooth, persuasive speaker. To get top marks, you absolutely must integrate the foundational knowledge, apply the substitution method flawlessly, and deliver your final executive summary with total authority. And that dynamic perfectly illustrates the true academic benchmark. When the examiners review your paper, they are desperately looking for connected, conceptual understanding. The principal examiner reports are crystal clear on this point every single year. They want analytical depth over superficial breadth. What does that mean for you? It means the foundation of your math has to rest on precise definitions and crystal clear logical steps. If you can confidently show exactly how substituting your linear equation into the quadratic solves the broader geometry problem of finding intersecting coordinates, well, that's when your presentation instantly elevates from an average, middle-of-the-pack pitch to a top-tier executive strategy.
Let's transition into phase 3, the method mark blueprint.
But really quickly, before we fix the pitch and build your blueprint, to ensure your academic portfolio remains highly competitive, you need to subscribe to our channel Ace the Exams at the handle @AceTheExams. Make sure you enable those notifications so you never miss our weekly consulting insights. Okay, back to the strategy. What is absolutely fascinating here is the method mark strategy. Think of this as your ultimate corporate safety net. In the real world, and definitely in Cambridge mathematics under intense time pressure, sometimes a minor calculation error just happens. You drop a negative sign or you mess up a basic multiplication. It happens. But the examiners, who are acting as your structural auditors, will actually award you method marks for your logical process, your systematic analysis, and your clear working out. They are literally rewarding the structural integrity of your pitch, even if a tiny computational error throws off the final decimal point at the very end. So how do we guarantee those method marks? We use a standardized procedural framework. Let's walk through this step by step to build your business case from raw data all the way to a justified recommendation. Step 1. Deconstruct the question. Read the brief carefully. Step 2, extract the relevant data. Step 3, select your analytical framework. Now, mathematically, this is a make or break moment. When you have one linear and one quadratic equation, you must always isolate a variable in the linear equation first and then substitute that into the quadratic. Never, ever try it the other way around or you'll create an absolute mess. Step 4, execute your analysis. This means a highly visible step-by-step expansion of the brackets. Show your work. And finally, step 5, verify the results and present them clearly as coordinate pairs. If our junior consultants Alex and Sam had just aligned their syntax with this exact framework, their mock proposal would have been structurally flawless. All right, we are now entering phase 4, the live diagnostic risk audit. We are going to do a live audience diagnostic right now. I want you to imagine a 60-second visual timer ticking down on the wall, and we are going to analyze exactly where candidate pitches usually fall apart. I want you to actively think about this. What is the exact sentence, the exact moment where a simulated answer loses its credibility with the examiner? Imagine you are evaluating a competitor's pitch. They've done the substitution correctly, they've expanded the quadratic bracket perfectly, but suddenly the logic just completely jumps. Huge steps are missing. The final coordinate values just magically appear out of thin air without any justification or factorization shown. I guarantee you that is exactly where they lost the examiner's trust. In fact, if we look at the internal audits, the principal examiner reports explicitly warn that candidates consistently confuse key terminology and totally fail to provide clear annotations. In the corporate world, skipping steps like that is a massive red flag. On the flip side, the absolute gold standard, the right side of the board here, requires defined terms, structured logic, and highly appropriate formats. You must always define your terms before executing your analysis. If you are substituting y into a quadratic equation, you need to state that explicitly on the page. Remember, your working out isn't just scratchpad math. It is your formal communication to the board. These right here are the top 3 fatal errors pulled straight from the examiner's risk assessment. These mistakes will immediately sink what is otherwise a brilliant mathematical proposal. First up, missing proper format in your final layout. You can't just leave x equals 2 and y equals 4 floating around. Group them as a coordinate pair so they make sense. Second, failing to check your presentation. Messy, scribbled, illegible working out completely destroys your method mark safety net because the auditor can't follow your logic. And third, and this is absolutely crucial, answers lacking specific context. This is where the top-tier A-star marks are really won or lost. If your math problem represents a physical, real-world scenario like calculating length or time, your final positive and negative values must be evaluated to see if they actually make sense. You can't have negative 3 seconds of time, right? You have to actively discard that negative value and explain why. That's true analytical depth. And finally, phase 5, the executive summary checklist. Let's close this deal. If you are serious about achieving significantly higher marks and polishing your final draft to perfection, your very last step is utilizing this ultimate executive framework checklist. Ask yourself, have you fully utilized the deconstruct, solve, evaluate sequence? Have you critically evaluated alternative interpretations? For example, did you explicitly verify why one coordinate pair is totally valid while the other one had to be discarded due to context? And lastly, are cross-topic connections referenced? Can you demonstrate that higher-order bird's-eye view of how this algebraic substitution perfectly connects to the geometric graphing of a line intersecting a parabola? Demonstrating that level of insight is exactly what separates the junior consultants from the managing directors. To close out this explainer, I want you to ask yourself that exact question every single time you sit down to practice. Are you just calculating numbers to pass the test, or are you architecting an airtight, flawless executive pitch? Treat every single practice paper like you are stepping into a boardroom brief, because when you do, the boardroom is entirely yours. Now, execute your final call to action. Hit that subscribe button for Ace the Exams at @AceTheExams. Make sure you enable the notification bell so you don't miss our next strategy session, and jump into the comments below right now with your current level and your target subject. Let's get to work.